What would you do if a desperate pregnant dog blocked your path, refusing to let you pass until you followed her into the unknown? For one man, this unexpected encounter would unearth a forgotten hero and a secret buried beneath the dust of time. Meet William Wynne. At 50 years old, William is a man shaped by decades of discipline. He stands tall with a muscular build and broad shoulders that hint at his past as a Navy SEAL. His square-jawed Caucasian face features a powerful jawline, framed by a short boxed beard streaked with black and silver. Deep moss-green eyes, surrounded by deep crow's feet, scan the world with quiet intensity. His military buzz-cut, salt and pepper hair, and sun-kissed rugged skin texture tell the story of a life spent outdoors, while deep forehead wrinkles show a man who has carried heavy burdens. It was a quiet afternoon when William was hiking near a forgotten rural town. The silence was broken by a low, desperate whine. Emerging from the brush was Smoky. She was a striking cross between a German Shepherd and a Labrador, weighing around balmy kilogram. Despite her heavy, pregnant belly, she tried to maintain a perfectly upright posture. Her black and tan fur was matted, and her erect, pointed ears twitched nervously. She locked her intelligent, dark brown eyes onto William. Her long, strong muzzle nudged his hand. She was just begging for food. She was pleading for him to follow. All stories presented on this channel are fictional and are creatively developed based on themes such as courage, loyalty, resilience, and the special bond between veterans and their dogs. If you love heartwarming stories about heroes and their loyal companions, please make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you never miss a tale. William knelt down, his moss-green eyes softening as he looked at the exhausted dog. He gently stroked Smokey's black and tan fur, feeling the unmistakable kicks of puppies in her swollen belly. "All right, girl, show me the way," he whispered. Smokey let out a weak but relieved sigh. Her intelligent dark brown eyes flickered with renewed determination. She turned and began to walk, her long, strong muzzle pointing toward an overgrown trail. William followed closely, his tall, muscular frame navigating the dense underbrush. Despite his sun-kissed rugged skin and deep forehead wrinkles from years of harsh military service, he moved with the silent footsteps of a trained Navy SEAL. The journey was slow. Smokey had to stop frequently to catch her breath, her erect, pointed ears listening to the forest. William offered her water from his canteen, marveling at her perfectly upright posture even when she was exhausted. She refused to give up. After an hour of trekking, the trees cleared, revealing the decaying ruins of an abandoned farmhouse. Smokey quickened her pace, driven by an invisible force, leading William straight toward the collapsing back porch. The farmhouse looked as though it had been swallowed by time itself. Vines choked the rotting wooden beams, and the roof had long since caved in. William, standing with his broad shoulders squared, surveyed the area cautiously. His military buzz-cut and salt and pepper hair caught the dappled sunlight filtering through the thick canopy above. Smokey didn't hesitate for a single second. The Bamie kilogram German Shepherd and Labrador mix wove through the sharp debris, her pregnant belly brushing against the tall weed. She stopped at a heavy, decaying wooden door set directly into the earth at the side of the house, a hidden cellar. She began scratching desperately at the wood with her paws, letting out urgent, high-pitched whine. William approached, his prominent nose catching the damp, musty scent of ancient earth and decaying wood. He squatted down, his powerful jawline setting into a firm expression of concern. The cellar door was blocked by a large fallen branch and decades of accumulated dirt. "Stand back, Smokey," William commanded gently. The dog instantly obeyed, displaying her remarkable intelligence. She sat back, maintaining her perfectly upright posture despite her profound fatigue. William gripped the heavy branch with his large calloused hands. Using the immense strength of his tall, muscular build, he heaved the obstacle aside. He then grabbed the rusted iron handle of the cellar door. With a strong pull, the door creaked open. William pulled a tactical flashlight from his pocket, its bright beam slicing through the absolute darkness of the hidden cellar. The wooden stairs were precarious, groaning loudly under his heavy weight. "Stay here, Smokey," he ordered softly, but the brave dog completely ignored him. With her intelligent dark brown eyes fixed on the shadows below, she carefully navigated the steps right behind him. her black and tan fur brushing against his leg for comfort. At the bottom of the stairs, the beam of light swept across a small stone-walled room. It was remarkably dry, but filled with old wooden crates and military surplus gear covered in a thick layer of dust. In the far corner, lying on a makeshift cot of old wool blankets, was an elderly man. He was incredibly frail, his breathing shallow and laboured. Smoky immediately rushed to his side, her long, strong muzzle gently nudging his trembling hand. The old man slowly opened his eyes, offering a weak smile as he weakly patted the dog's head. "Good girl, you brought help," he wheezed, his voice barely above a whisper. William approached quickly but calmly, his deep moss-green eyes scanning the man for any immediate medical emergencies. The deep crow's feet around William's eyes crinkled in deep concern. The old man wasn't injured, but he was severely malnourished, dehydrated, and nearing the natural end of his life. William knelt down, his square-jawed Caucasian face expressing profound empathy. Before William could press the emergency beacon on his radio, the frail old man reached out with a trembling hand, grabbing William's sturdy wrist. "Wait, please," the old man rasped, struggling to catch his... "No hospitals, it's my time, but you have to promise me." William paused, his powerful jawline tight with emotion. He looked at Smoky, who was resting her chin on the man's chest, her erect, pointed ears folded back in deep sorrow. "What do you need?" William asked, his voice deep and respectful. The old man weakly gestured to a small, heavy wooden box resting on a crate beside his cot. "Open it," he commanded softly. William obliged. He unlatched the brass lock and lifted the lid. Inside, resting on faded red velvet, were several pristine military medals, including a silver star and a purple heart, alongside tarnished dog tags from a war fought decades ago. "My squad." "They did make it back," the old man whispered, a tear escaping his eye. "Mort was tasked to bring these to their families, but I failed. Mort hid away from the world. The guilt, it broke me." William looked at the medals, then back at the veteran. His sun-kissed rugged skin and deep forehead wrinkles reflected an unspoken understanding between two soldiers. "You didn't fail," William said firmly, his moss-green eyes locking onto the old man's fading gaze. "Mott am a Navy SEAL. Mott give you my solemn word these medals will find their rightful homes." The old man's face relaxed into a peaceful smile upon hearing William's solemn promise. The heavy emotional burden he had carried for decades finally lifted from his frail shoulders. He closed his eyes one last time, taking a slow, shallow breath before the cellar fell completely silent. Smoky let out a heartbreaking whimper, her intelligent dark brown eyes wide with sorrow. The Bamiki Logam cross between a German shepherd and a Labrador rested her long, strong muzzle gently over the old man's motionless hand, refusing to leave his side. William stood silently, his tall and muscular build casting a long shadow in the dim light of the tactical flashlight. His deep moss-green eyes, framed by deep crow's feet, glistened with unshed tears. He bowed his head, his salt and pepper military buzz cut reflecting his utmost respect for a fallen brother in arms. He gently stroked Smoky's black and tan fur, offering her whatever comfort he could provide. The deep forehead wrinkles on his square-jawed Caucasian face deepened as he looked at the small wooden box of medals. The mission was clear. He gently picked up the heavy wooden box, holding it securely against his broad shoulders. Leaving the underground cellar was one of the hardest things William had ever done. He had to gently coax Smoky away from her beloved owner. Despite her heavy pregnancy, she managed to maintain her perfectly upright posture as she bravely followed him up the creaky wooden stairs. Once outside in the fading afternoon light, William immediately used his satellite radio to contact local authorities, requesting a respectful extraction for the deceased veteran. As he waited, his powerful jawline remained clenched in solemn reflection. He sat on a fallen log, running his calloused hands through his short-boxed beard, which was black with silver streaks. Smoky curled up beside his boots, her erect pointed ears flat against her head. Suddenly she began to pant heavily, letting out a sharp, distressed whine. William's prominent nose flared as he realized what was happening. The severe stress and exhaustion of the long journey had finally triggered her labor. The sun-kissed, rugged skin texture of William's face showed intense focus. The Navy SEAL instantly switched from a grieving soldier into a highly capable medic, preparing to help the brave mother bring new life into the world. The sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in deep shades of orange and purple. William quickly gathered clean wool blankets from his heavy tactical backpack, laying them out to create a safe, warm bed for the labouring dog. Smoky lay panting on her side, her intelligent dark brown eyes locking onto William for constant reassurance. He stroked her black and tan fur soothingly, his deep moss-green eyes radiating calm confidence. "You are doing great, Smoky. Mort met right here with you," he whispered gently. His tall and muscular build hovered protectively over her. Within an hour, the first tiny puppy emerged, a miniature version of its brave mother. William used clean medical gauze to help clear the puppy's airways, smiling warmly as it let out a tiny squeak. Over the next few hours, Smoky successfully delivered 4 healthy, squirming puppies. Despite the sheer exhaustion of labour, the balmy kilogram cross between a German Shepherd and a Labrador immediately began cleaning her babies with her long, strong muzzle. William sat back, wiping the sweat from his deep forehead wrinkles. His square-jawed Caucasian face relaxed into a genuine smile of pure joy. By the time the local authorities and an ambulance arrived at the remote farmhouse, night had fully descended. They were astonished to find the 50-year-old Navy SEAL sitting vigil by the cellar door, a tactical flashlight illuminating the heartwarming scene of a mother dog nursing her 4 newborn puppies. William stood up, his broad shoulders squared, to brief the arriving officers about the veteran resting peacefully below. His short boxed beard, black with silver streaks, gave him an authoritative yet deeply compassionate presence. After arranging for the veteran's respectful transport, William carefully bundled the tiny puppies into his large backpack, keeping it open for airflow. He then scooped up the exhausted Smoky. Despite her weighing balmy kilogram, his tall and muscular build made carrying her look completely effortless. Her erect, pointed ears rested softly against his chest. As he walked back to his customized truck under the starry sky, his prominent nose inhaled the crisp night air. He looked down at the brave dog in his arms, his sun-kissed rugged skin catching the moon. They were going home together to start the next important chapter of their life. If you are enjoying this journey of loyalty and honor, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a moment of William and Smoky's incredible story. Several weeks passed, bringing a comforting routine to William's quiet home. Smoky had fully recovered her strength and her perfectly upright posture. The 4 puppies were growing rapidly, filling the house with joyful, clumsy energy. But William hadn't forgotten his solemn promise. He sat at his large oak desk, his deep moss-green eyes framed by deep crow's feet, staring intently at the tarnished dog tags and pristine medals laid out on the wood. His square-jawed Caucasian face was set with unwavering determination. He picked up a faded piece of paper tucked at the bottom of the old wooden box, a handwritten list of 3 names and 3 old addresses. The powerful jawline beneath his salt and pepper military buzz cut tightened. The old man's squad member. "All right, Smoky," William said softly, running a hand over the dog's black and tan fur as she rested her long, strong muzzle on his knee. Her intelligent dark brown eyes stared up at him, fully understanding the gravity of his tone. It is time to bring them home. The Navy SEAL was officially back on a mission. The next morning, William began preparing his rugged customized truck for the long journey ahead. He carefully installed a secure, comfortable crate in the spacious back seat for the growing pup. Smoky, the balmy kilogram cross between a German Shepherd and a Labrador, watched his every move with her intelligent dark brown eyes. She maintained her perfectly upright posture, her black and tan fur gleaming beautifully in the morning sun. William, displaying his tall and muscular build, easily loaded his heavy tactical bags. His broad shoulders moved at practiced efficiency. At 50 years old, he still possessed the boundless energy of a seasoned Navy SEAL. He paused to scratch Smoky behind her erect, pointed ears, a warm smile softening his square-jawed Caucasian face. The deep forehead wrinkles on his sun-kissed rugged skin seemed less pronounced today, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. His prominent nose caught the scent of impending rain as he climbed into the driver's seat. His short boxed beard, black with silver streaks, rested over his collar as he started the powerful engine. With the tarnished dog tag safely secured in his pocket, they pulled out of the driveway, ready to honor the path. Their first destination was a quiet, unassuming Midwestern town heavily faded by the passage of time. William navigated the truck down a narrow, tree-lined street, matching the first old address to a modest white picket fence house. He parked the vehicle and stepped out, his deep moss-green eyes scanning the peaceful neighborhood. The deep crow's feet around his eyes crinkled as he checked the handwritten address one last. He opened the back door and Smokey immediately hopped down, her long, strong muzzle sniffing the unfamiliar air. "Stay close, girl," William said, his powerful jawline setting into a gentle yet firm expression. Together, the towering Navy SEAL kept hat, his military buzz cut, salt and pepper hair, and the incredibly loyal rescue dog walked up the stone pathway. William firmly pressed the doorbell with his calloused hand. After a brief moment, the door slowly opened, revealing a fragile, elderly woman with kind, questioning eyes. William immediately stood at attention, his broad shoulders squared in ultimate respect. He gently removed his cap, revealing the deep forehead wrinkles on his sun-kissed, rugged skin texture. "Ma'am, my name is William Wynne. Mott have come a very long way to bring something home to you," he spoke softly. The elderly woman graciously invited them inside, offering them a seat in her cozy, picture-filled living room. Smokey instinctively sensed the solemn nature of the balmy kilogram cross between a German Shepherd and a Labrador sat quietly by the woman's feet, maintaining her perfectly upright posture. Her intelligent, dark brown eyes watched as the woman gently stroked her black and tan fur. William reached into his heavy jacket, his tall and muscular build, leaning forward respectfully. From his pocket he produced the pristine silver star and the tarnished dog tags. The woman gasped, her trembling hands covering her mouth as heavy tears streamed down her cheek. "My older brother. He never came home," she wept softly. William's deep moss-green eyes filled hat profound empathy. The deep crow's feet framing his eyes softened as he recounted the story of the hidden cellar and the old veteran's final honorable wish. His square-jawed Caucasian face and powerful jawline conveyed a quiet strength that helped anchor the grieving woman. "He never forgot your brother," William said gently, his short boxed beard, black with silver streaks, moving as he spoke with utter sincerity. He guarded this with his... Leaving the small house, William felt a profound lightness in his chest. The heavy emotional burden of the first medal had been lifted, bringing decades overdue peace to a grieving family. He climbed back into his truck, his prominent nose taking in the crisp, refreshing air of the open road. As he drove toward their second destination, he occasionally glanced at the rearview mirror. The 4 puppies were fast asleep in their secure crate, completely oblivious to the noble mission their human and mother were undertaking. Smokey sat quietly in the passenger seat beside him, her erect pointed ears twitching happily at the passing scenery. Her long, strong muzzle rested comfortably near the open window. William reached over with his large hand, gently rubbing her neck. The 50-year-old Navy SEAL had spent his entire life completing dangerous missions, but this journey felt uniquely powerful. The sun-kissed, rugged skin texture of his face glowed warmly in the afternoon sunlight. His military buzz cut and salt and pepper hair reflected a man who had finally found true peace after war. His broad shoulders relaxed against the driver's seat as the miles rolled away beneath them. They were a team now, bound by an unbreakable promise. 2 days later, the landscape shifted from rolling farmlands to the bustling suburbs of a large coastal city. William navigated the heavy traffic with practiced patience, his deep moss-green eyes keenly observing the changing environment. They finally arrived at a dense residential neighborhood, stopping in front of a well-kept modern home. The deep forehead wrinkles on his square-jawed Caucasian face deepened as he mentally prepared for the next emotional encounter. This delivery was for a heavily guarded Purple Heart. He stepped out of the vehicle, his tall and muscular build commanding immediate respect from passers-by. He smoothed his shirt, ensuring his short boxed beard, black with silver streaks, looked incredibly neat and presentable. Smokey leaped down from the cab, her Barmakilo gam frame landing silently on the pavement. The intelligent dark brown eyes of the German Shepherd and Labrador mix looked up at William, ready for his instructions. Her black and tan fur looked exceptionally clean after their recent rest. With his powerful jawline set firmly, William gripped the small wooden box containing the second medal. He walked up the long concrete driveway, his broad shoulders squared to the world, ready to face the family of another fallen hero. At the second house, William was met by a middle-aged man who bore a striking resemblance to the name on the old dog tags. As William stood on the porch, his tall and muscular build and broad shoulders momentarily intimidated the homeowner, but his soft moss-green eyes quickly put the man at ease. "Mort met here about your father," William said, his voice deep and steady. The man's eyes widened in shock as William presented the purple heart. They spent hours on the back patio, Smoky sitting at their feet with her perfectly upright posture, her erect pointed ears tracking every bird that flew by. The man told stories of how his father had vanished into his Ove kept no mind after the war, never speaking of his service. William listened intently, his square-jawed Caucasian face showing profound respect. His short-boxed beard, black with silver streaks, caught the light as he nodded. He explained how the old man in the cellar had kept these relics safe as a form of penance. By the time William and Smoky returned to the truck, the sun was setting, casting a golden glow over William's sun-kissed rugged skin. One medal remained. The final address led them to a remote mountainous region where the air was thin and crisp. William's prominent nose breathed in the scent of pine and damp earth as he navigated the winding dirt roads. The deep forehead wrinkles on his face tightened as the truck climbed higher into the clouds. He looked over at Smoky, the balmy kilogram cross between a German Shepherd and a Labrador, who seemed to thrive in the cooler air. Her black and tan fur was thick and healthy, and her intelligent dark brown eyes were filled with a sense of adventure. The 4 puppies in the back were now old enough to poke their heads out, yapping at the squirrels outside. William reached back to pat them, his large calloused hand a symbol of protection. He felt a strange connection to the man they were looking for, a soldier who had lived in these mountains until his passing. His powerful jawline set as he spotted a squabmin nestled against a cliff. This was it. The final piece of the old man's soul was about to be laid to rest. The cabin belonged to a young man, the grandson of the final soldier on the list. He was a veteran himself, recently home from a tour of duty, and he recognized William's military buzz cut and salt and pepper hair instantly. "Navy SEAL?" the young man asked, eyeing William's muscular build. William nodded, his moss-green eyes reflecting a shared understanding. When William produced the final medal and the rusted dog tags, the young veteran fell silent, his hand trembling as he touched the cold. "My grandfather always said he left his heart on the battlefield because he couldn't bring his friends home," the young man whispered. Smoky approached him, her long, strong muzzle gently nudging his hand, offering the same silent comfort she once gave the man in the cellar. William watched the interaction, the deep crow's feet around his eyes softening. He realized that this journey wasn't just about the past, it was about healing the present. His square-jawed Caucasian face was etched with a sense of completion. The mission that had stood in a dark, dusty cellar was finally coming to an end in the bright mountain air. With all the medals delivered, a heavy weight seemed to lift from William's broad shoulders. He spent the night at the cabin, sharing a meal with the young veteran. They sat by the fire, 2 generations of warriors separated by time but joined by the same code of honor. Smoky lay by the hearth, her black and tan fur glowing in the firelight, while her puppies tumbled playfully across the wooden floor. William stroked his short-boxed beard, deep in thought. His sun-kissed, rugged skin and deep forehead wrinkles were a map of a life spent in service. But for the first time in years, he wasn't looking for the next battle. He was looking at the dog who had saved a hero's legacy. He looked at Smoky, her intelligent dark brown eyes reflecting the flames, and knew that she was the true hero of this story. Without her desperate plea that day in the woods, these families would have never known the truth, and an old soldier would have died in total obscurity. William felt a surge of pride in his balmy kilogram companion. The journey back home was long, but William didn't mind the miles. He drove with a steady hand, his powerful jawline relaxed and a slight smile playing on his lips. As they crossed the state line, he pulled over at a scenic overlook. He let Smokey and the puppies out to stretch their legs. Smokey stood on the edge of the overlook, her erect pointed ears catching the wind, her perfectly upright posture silhouetted against the vast horizon. William stood beside her, his tall and muscular build a stark contrast to the open sky. He looked down at the puppies who were now strong and healthy and made a decision. He couldn't part with them. They were a part of this story, a part of Smokey, and now a part of him. His deep moss-green eyes crinkled with joy. He would raise them all. He would build a sanctuary on his property for veterans and their service dogs, a place where the bond between soldier and animal could be celebrated. His military Bayou date cut caught the breeze as he looked toward the future. The Navy SEAL had found his new calling. Returning to his coastal home, William felt a sense of clarity he hadn't experienced since his active duty days. He pulled his truck into the gravel driveway, his deep moss-green eyes scanning the sprawling, overgrown acreage he had purchased years ago. Beside him, Smokey sat capite at her perfectly upright posture, her black and tan fur shimmering as the sunlight hit the cab. The 4 puppies were now a whirlwind of energy, their small muzzles yapping at the familiar sense of home. William climbed out, his tall and muscular build moving with the grace of a man half his age. He stood with his broad shoulders looking at the open land. He realized this wasn't just a home anymore. It was a mission site. His square-jawed Caucasian face set into a look of focused determination. The deep forehead wrinkles on his sun-kissed rugged skin were no longer lines of stress, but a blueprint for the future. He looked at Smokey, whose intelligent dark brown eyes seemed to approve of the plan. They were going to build the Cellar Hero Sanctuary, a place where veterans could find peace alongside dogs who needed a purpose. William reached down, his calloused hand stroking Smokey's erect, pointed ears. The work was just beginning. The next several months were a blur of physical labor and construction. William utilized every bit of his Navy SEAL training, his powerful jawline tight as he hauled lumber and cleared brush. His tall and muscular build was put to the test as he built a series of spacious, comfortable kennels and a training course designed for service dogs. His salt and pepper military buzz cut was often covered in sawdust, and his short boxed beard, black with silver streaks, became a familiar sight to the local hardware store owners. Smokey was his constant shadow, her Barmikilo gam frame moving tirelessly across the property. She watched over her 4 puppies, who were now large enough to begin basic obedience training. William marveled at her intelligence. Whenever he felt his own exhaustion creeping in, he would look at Smokey's upright posture and her long, strong muzzle as she brought him a water bottle or a tool he had dropped. The deep crow's feet around his moss-green eyes crinkled with a genuine smile. He was no longer just a man living in retirement. He was a builder of legacies. His prominent nose caught the scent of fresh-cut cedar, the smell of a new beginning. Word of William's project began to spread through veteran networks. One morning, a man named Elias pulled into the driveway. Elias was younger, his shoulders slumped and his eyes clouded with the invisible weight of his service. William stepped forward to greet him, his broad shoulders and muscular build offering a sense of stability. His square-jawed Caucasian face remained calm and welcoming. "Welcome to the sanctuary," William said, his voice deep and grounding. Smokey approached Elias cautiously but kindly. She didn't bark. Instead, she walked up and rested her long, strong muzzle against the young man's hand. Her intelligent dark brown eyes seemed to read the pain Elias was carrying. William watched as Elias' trembling fingers sank into Smokey's thick black and tan fur. For the first time in months, Elias took a deep, shaky breath. William's sun-kissed, rugged skin and the deep forehead wrinkles on his face softened Kepti hat empathy. He knew that look, he had lived it. "She's a good judge of character," William noted, his powerful jawline relaxing into a small smile. This was the first of many healings that would take place on these grounds. To honor the man from the cellar, William decided to hold a small, private memorial ceremony on the property. He had contacted the families he visited, and to his surprise, many of them traveled across the country to attend. William stood at the head of a newly planted grove of oak trees, his tall and muscular frame dressed in a clean, dark suit that emphasized his broad shoulders. His salt and pepper military buzz cut and short boxed beard were perfectly groomed. He held the small wooden box that had once contained the medals, now filled vacapite hat photos of the soldiers whose lives had been honoured. As he spoke, his moss-green eyes scanned the small crowd. He talked about loyalty, about the weight of a promise, and about the dog who refused to let a hero be forgotten. Smoky stood beside him, her bamiki logam frame steady, and her erect, pointed ears alert to the silence of the woods. Her perfectly upright posture was a testament to the dignity of the mission. The families wept, but they were tears of closure. William felt the deep forehead wrinkles on his face smooth out. The ghosts of the past were finally being laid to rest under the shade of the oaks. By the end of the first year, the sanctuary was fully operational. William had successfully placed the 4 puppies, now fully grown Barmy Kilo Gam dogs with black and tan fur just like their mother, with veterans in need. He had personally overseen their training, ensuring they were as disciplined and intelligent as Smoky herself. His square-jawed Caucasian face was now a symbol of hope in the community. Despite the hard work, William looked younger than he had in years. The deep crow's feet around his eyes were now from frequent laughter rather than just the sun. He sat on his porch one evening, his prominent nose inhaling the salty air of the coast. Smoky lay at his feet, her long, strong muzzle resting on her paws, her intelligent dark brown eyes watching the fireflies. William realized that his life as a Navy SEAL had given him the skills, but it was a pregnant, exhausted dog that had given him his soul back. His powerful jawline was set in an expression of quiet contentment. He reached down to rub Smoky S ears, his salt and pepper hair catching the twilight. They had turned a story of abandonment into a story of absolute resilience. He was William Wynne, and his mission was finally complete. Here are the final parts, part Haimisao to part Bami of your YouTube script, completing the story while maintaining all character details and the required character counts. As the years began to pass, the sanctuary became more than just a training facility. It became a beacon of hope for veterans across the country. William Wynne stood at the edge of the training field early one morning, his deep moss-green eyes scanning the horizon as the sun began to rise. His tall and muscular build was silhouetted against the dawn, his broad shoulders squared with a sense of enduring strength. At 50+, his military buzz cut was now more salt than pepper, but his energy hadn't flagged. Beside him, Smoky stood Vekepte, her signature perfectly upright posture. Even as she aged, her black and tan fur remained thick and well-groomed, and her erect, pointed ears caught every sound of the waking forest. William looked down at his loyal companion, his square-jawed Caucasian face softening. He reached up to rub the deep forehead wrinkles that marked his sun-kissed rugged skin, a habit he developed when lost in thought. They were currently hosting a group of 6 veterans, each paired with a dog from Smoky S lineage. William S. prominent nose caught the scent of wood smoke from the main lodge, where stories of courage and recovery were shared every night. He knew that the old man in the cellar would be proud of what his forgotten medals had eventually inspired. One afternoon, a heavy envelope arrived in the mail, addressed to William in elegant, shaky handwriting. It was from the elderly woman he had visited in the Midwest, the sister of the first soldier whose medal he had returned. William sat on his porch, his powerful jawline tight as he read her words. She wrote that the return of her brother S. Silver Star had brought a peace to her family that she never thought possible. She included a photo of the medal, now displayed in a beautiful glass case in her local Veterans Hall. William S. deep crow-s feet crinkled as a quiet smile spread across his face. He stroked his short boxed beard, which was now dominated by silver streaks, and looked over at Smoky. The Bame Kilo Gamdog was watching him with her intelligent dark brown eyes, her long, strong muzzle resting on his knee. She seemed to understand the weight of the letter. William realized that his life as a Navy SEAL had taught him how to protect, but Smoky had taught him how to heal. His moss-green eyes shimmered with a profound sense of accomplishment. The mission wasn't just about the physical delivery of metal and ribbon. It was about the restoration of dignity to those who had been lost to time. William decided to take Smoky back to the old, abandoned farmhouse one last time. He wanted to pay his respects at the site where their journey had truly begun. He drove the rugged truck through the familiar overgrown trails, his muscular build effortlessly handling the steering. When they arrived at the ruins, the cellar door had been permanently sealed by the authorities, but the atmosphere felt different. It no longer felt like a place of sorrow. William stood before the decaying porch, his broad shoulders draped in a simple flannel shirt, his sunkissed rugged skin glowing in the filtered light. Smoky moved toward the spot where she had first led him, her black and tan fur brushing against the tall grass. She sat down with her perfectly upright posture and let out a long, low howl that echoed through the trees. It was a cry of pain, but a salute. William stood at attention, his salt and pepper military buzz cut held high. He thought about the old man's final smile and the way the puppies had been born right there in the shadow of the ruins. The cycle of life and honor was complete. His prominent nose inhaled the scent of pine, and he felt a deep, settled peace in his soul. The story of the Navy SEAL and the pregnant dog eventually caught the attention of a national veteran organization, which awarded William a commendation for his service to the community. At the ceremony, William stood on stage, his square-jawed Caucasian face and powerful jawline reflecting his quiet humility. He didn't talk about his own exploits. He talked about Smokey. He described the intelligent dark brown eyes of the Bamiki Logam dog who had saved a hero's legacy. Smokey stood right beside him on the podium, her erect pointed ears twitching as the audience applauded. She looked every bit the hero, her black and tan fur shining under the stage. William spoke about the importance of never leaving a brother behind, whether they were on the battlefield or lost in the shadows of history. His short boxed beard, black with silver streaks, moved with conviction as he urged others to look for the hidden cellars in their own lives. As they walked off the stage, his deep moss-green eyes caught the gaze of the young veteran from the mountains who had travelled just to see them. The bond of the military family was unbreakable, and it was a dog that had reminded them all of that truth. As the sun set on another day at the sanctuary, William and Smokey sat together on the porch of the main house. The 4 puppies, now fully grown and serving as incredible companions to other veterans, were off living their own heroic lives, but their presence was still felt in the spirit of the place. William leaned back, his tall and muscular frame relaxing into the chair. He looked at his calloused hands, then at the deep forehead wrinkles in the reflection of the window. He was a man who had seen the worst of the world, but thanks to a desperate pregnant dog, he had also seen the best of it. Smokey rested her long, strong muzzle on his foot, her intelligent dark brown eyes slowly closing as she drifted into a peaceful sleep. William placed his hand on her head, his moss-green eyes filled with a love that transcended words. They had started as strangers in the woods, but they had become a team that changed the world, one medal and one heart at a time. The legacy of the old man in the cellar lived on in every veteran who found peace at the sanctuary. William Wynne, the Navy SEAL with the heart of a protector, finally closed his eyes, listening to the steady, rhythmic breathing of the dog who had led him home.
The Channel The Dog and the Veteran is a storytelling platform created for entertainment, inspiration, education, and the promotion of positive emotional values. All stories presented on this channel are fictional and are creatively developed based on themes such as courage, loyalty, resilience, and the special bond between veterans and their dogs. The content does not represent real individuals, actual events, or documented cases. Any resemblance to real people, animals, or events is purely coincidental.